Alright, guys. So it's kind of bittersweet, but today brings the end to the summer movie season. It's been a good summer. There's been a few good movies. There's been a lot of disappointments, and I'm just happy to say that the last movie of summer is going out with a bang. This is a movie I've been looking forward to for years. I've been watching this almost religiously for years, just waiting for the right time for this to come out since pre-posters, trailers, everything, just any information. And that's Edgar Wright's The World's End. I have a lot of personal connection with and kind of like nostalgia with his Coronado trilogy. Shaun of the Dead was the first R-rated movie I ever saw in theaters. I was really young too. My sister snuck me into it. I loved it. I picked up British comedy just right off the bat, and I understand it. And that's almost the only kind of comedy that I find funny now. And then a few years later, when Hot Fuzz came out, that became one of my top five favorite movies of all time. So, The World's End has been in the making for a while. I know Edgar Wright's been writing it for a long time, and we were just waiting for Universal to greenlit it. So they did, and yeah, we get the masterpiece that it is. Um, Tonight I got to go to a showing. AMC had a very special event where you got to watch all three of the Cornetto trilogy movies in theaters, and it was so appropriate. um, like I said, these movies have a lot. They reside with me a lot. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, yeah, and now The World's End, which is just a really good movie, and it's a really good way to say goodbye to this perfect trilogy. The World's End is a story of Simon Pegg's character. I can't think of his name. I'm really bad with those, but he is kind of a rebel, and he's looking to relive the one night from his teenage years that he really just loved, and that consists of doing something called the Golden Mile, which is going to 12 pubs along this kind of stretch of their old town. So he gathers their five friends, played by Martin Freeman, Nick Frost. I cannot think of the other two actors' names right off the top of my head. But it is, it's just in Edgar Wright's fashion. It's very clever dialogue. It's expertly acted by two really great actors. I'm glad that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are starting to get in more roles. They really deserve it. They're great actors that have really great chemistry together, and like I said, it's kind of bittersweet that we're finally seeing the end of this trilogy. But I guess we'll always have these movies. The World's End is a sci-fi movie at its heart. Edgar Wright really respects sci-fi here, and I'm kind of a sci-fi junkie. So the fact that this movie just had me going, I was very into it. I loved what it was doing. It was this kind of pulpy action sci-fi, and it was just really good. This is a movie about nostalgia, basically. Which is, like I said, it was very appropriate, seeing that I saw the trilogy in theaters and leading up to this being about nostalgia, because Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz really reside with me. But it deals with a lot of things like leaving your friends behind, and basically it deals with how to not get old, in a sense that you can relive things that made you happy without trying to live in the past while getting older, and it's very deep. For me, I felt like this is the deepest of the trilogy. It had a lot of emotional depth, and the dynamic between Nick Frost and Simon Pegg's character is really kind of heartwarming and wrenching. It's sad, and this is the only one that I was actually kind of melancholy at the end. It left you a little bit sad towards the end. If you love the other movies, you're probably gonna love this. I think this movie, it was just fantastic. The comedy was right on. It is not as punchy clever as Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but it's kind of its own thing. It's kind of more pulpy comedy. It works though in the context with this trilogy. It really does. It's just a little bit different. where I mean, like Hot Fuzz was different than Shaun of the Dead. This, um, I'm gonna say this is my second favorite of the trilogy. Hot Fuzz is my favorite, followed by this and then Shaun of the Dead. I love them all, which I need to get back to it. My top 12 films of all time, but I'm adding The World's End. This is going to be one of my favorite movies of all time. It's right up there with Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. I had a blast doing it. It's been a while since I can go and have fun at a movie theater without with kind of getting everything that I want. I really enjoyed Elysium. I really did. I had some minor complaints, but this movie really just gave me everything I want on all surfaces. Edgar Wright really has stepped up his game cinematography-wise. He's learned a lot from J.J. Abrams. There's a lot of lens flare in this, but it looks really good. And the movie takes place in October, so you gotta get a lot of rich colors in the area. Plus, it's the UK. It's beautiful. The soundtrack is great. It's this great 90s, 80s soundtrack that just, or like kind of late 80s, 90s soundtrack that just really elevates the story and kind of pumps in that nostalgic feeling. I remember listening to these songs when I was a really little kid, so it still just kind of hits home with me. I'm not 21, but this is the kind of movie that I would love to drink beers to. It's about a pub crawl, and this could be the perfect drinking movie. For any of you guys that are over 21, just go to an AMC or an ArcLight or a Regal Cinema and go to the 21 and up show. Drink some beers because you'll enjoy this a ton. I'm jealous of you. This movie is just very. It's very good, and it's a great send off to a great trilogy. Which is why I'm gonna say that The World's End is my favorite movie of the summer. Out of everything, it's my favorite movie of the summer, and this one's gonna stick with me. This deserves its spot right next to the other ones. It's a great piece of sci-fi. It has really good comedy. The character dynamic is excellent. Edgar Wright is at the top of his game here. Oh, and on another note, the action is really awesome too. You get a lot of cool blue blood action that's almost in the vein of Scott Pilgrim. It's fun to watch. But all of these elements really worked for me, which is why I'm going to give The World's End a 10 out of 10. The movie has some slight flaws, some very slight flaws. The pacing is different, and I felt like little tiny things could have been tweaked, but overall as an experience, this is my perfect movie experience. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and it resonated with me. So, yeah, 10 out of 10. This is one of my perfect reviews. Go watch The World's End. It is a great send-off to a great trilogy. And if you can, if they're still showing these, try to get into the Cornetto trilogy. It's awesome. I had a blast, 8 hours worth of watching good movies. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Tell me what you think down below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And also, I would really like to know what your guys' favorite movie of the summer is. It's just, everyone has their own opinion, so check that out.